Hey kids, welcome back to Kids Church Online. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to continue in our series this week in Genesis talking about relationships. And we're going to continue hearing Jacob's story this week and find out what happens when he reunites with his brother Esau. If you remember the video from last week, Jacob actually stole the special blessing and birthright that was supposed to go to Esau. So we're not really sure how that relationship's going to go. Now, we've all had arguments, whether it's with our siblings or friends. Sometimes we're able to work things out and our relationship goes back to normal. And sometimes things don't turn out the way that we hope they will. And our relationship or friendship might not be the same. Sometimes we are in the wrong and we have to apologize and ask for forgiveness. And other times we may have to be the one that forgives somebody that may have hurt us. This week, our big idea is God's peace can heal relationships. So we're going to go to our video and see what happens between Jacob and Esau when they meet again for the first time since Jacob ran away for stealing Esau's blessing.
Hi guys, I'm Elton.
And I'm Lauren. And today we're talking about something that everybody can relate to. We're talking about fighting with a sibling, a friend, someone close to you. But we're also talking about making up.
Yes, today's big idea is that God's peace can heal relationships. Lauren, have you ever had a fight with a sibling or a friend and then thought after, that was so unnecessary?
Yes, definitely yes. I used to fight with my brother and sister all the time over ridiculous things. The TV remote, who got to sit in the front of the car, bathroom time. They were all silly things, and afterwards you just knew, that was such a waste of time. But let's move on. Let's watch the God story about Jacob and see if he could reconcile with his brother Esau.
So do you remember Jacob? He was the grandson of Abraham. Hi everyone, my name is Jen, and it's great to be with you again today. I want to tell you a story about my brother Jonathan and I when we were kids. We loved to play video games together. We would stay up sometimes all night on a Friday night playing, but it wasn't always happy times. See, my brother and I, both of us are kind of sore losers, and so there are times when one of us would really be beating the other one that we would get really mad. In fact, my brother would sometimes even turn the video game off if I was beating him. That would make me pretty angry. And once or twice, my mom and dad came downstairs and said, look, if you guys are going to keep fighting, we're taking this away from you. But this story reminds me of today's big idea, that God's peace can heal relationships. Do you remember Jacob? He was the grandson of Abraham, the son of Isaac. He tricked his dad into giving him the blessing that was supposed to go to Esau. So then Esau got mad. Jacob ran away. He had this crazy dream where God said he would be with him wherever he went. Yeah, that Jacob. Well, his story continues. So Jacob moved on from the place where he dreamt and heard from God. He met up with his uncle Laban, and there he got married. He had 11 sons and 1 daughter. Now, I can only imagine the number of fights that would happen if you had 11 siblings. That would be crazy. So God told Jacob to return to the land of his father. So with his entire family, they picked up and started to head home. But on the way, Jacob had a realization. He thought, oh no, the land of my father, this is where Esau is. Is he still mad? How is he going to react? And so this would be a pretty scary situation to walk into. So we're going to see what happens in Genesis 32 and see how God's peace can heal relationships. Jacob also went on his way. The angels of God met him. Jacob saw them. He said, this is the army of God. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau. Esau lived in the land of Seir. It was also called the country of Edom. Jacob told the messengers what to do. He said, here's what you must tell my master Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I've been staying with Laban. I've remained there until now. I have cattle and donkeys and sheep and goats. I also have male and female servants. Now I'm sending this message to you. I hope I can please you. The messengers came back to Jacob. They said, we went to your brother Esau. He's coming now to meet you. He has 400 men with him. Now in these days, if somebody was coming at you with 400 men, that usually meant they wanted to fight. I would be really freaked out. Then Jacob prayed, you are the God of my grandfather Abraham. You are the God of my father Isaac. Lord, you are the one who said to me, go back to your country and your relatives, then I will give you success. You have been very kind and faithful to me, but I'm not worthy of any of this. Please save me from the hand of my brother Esau. I'm afraid he'll come and attack me. If I was in this situation like Jacob was, I would have told my whole family to pick up and run the other way. I would have been so scared that Esau was coming to get me. So when he didn't know what else to do, when he was afraid, Jacob prayed. And this is a really good example for us too. When we're not sure what to do next, when we're in a difficult situation, we can reach out to God because he knows exactly what to do and we can talk to him. And his peace can heal relationships. This is exactly what happened with Jacob and Esau. So Jacob sent ahead of him and his family a messenger with a huge gift of goats, sheep, camels, cows, and donkeys as a gift for Esau in hopes that Esau might forgive him. So Jacob then moved his family and all of his property across the Jabbok River, and he camped there alone that night. During the night, he had an incredible encounter with God. You should really read about it later. And in that encounter, God changed his name from Jacob to Israel. So here's what happens next. Jacob sets out and sees Esau, his brother, coming towards him with 400 men. Again, this would be a real freak-out moment, but let's read what happens in the Bible. But Esau ran to meet Jacob. He hugged him and threw his arms around his neck. He kissed him and they cried. So how cool is that? Jacob prayed for the best, expected the worst, but God totally came through. This story shows us that God's peace can heal relationships. So my brother and I, as I said at the beginning, we fought over video games. Now that's not nearly as big of a deal as stealing a blessing from your brother. But I'm really happy to say that my brother and I, even though we argued when we were kids, we're still really good friends today. As Jesus followers, we are constantly reminded of the peace that Christ offers, and we can know that God's peace can heal relationships. So we can see it in Jacob's story, and we can pray that it will be true in our story as well. Well, it's been great hanging out with you guys today. I'm actually gonna go and get some lunch, so I'll see you next time.
Stampede. Can you say the key verse before the stampede ends? Get ready. 3, 2, 1, go! Say it with me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. In all your ways, remember Him. Then He will make your paths smooth and straight. Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6.
Who doesn't fight about video games? I'm just glad that Jen and her brother has made up after all those fights.
I know. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's really difficult to mend relationships. We're gonna watch a video where Janet shares about issues with her friends and what happened to her.
So, hi, I'm Janet. This is my house. We're having a garage sale right now because we're moving soon. I'll show you some of the things. We have like a lot of random stuff because my grandparents used to live with us, so they never really threw anything out. We clearly have 50,000 cups. This is my brother. Hi. He's a strong man, as you can see. He's okay sometimes. A nutcracker. This is my mom. She's also pretty cool. I feel like I don't give my family enough credit. She's very cool. Thank you. This is my bedroom in all its glory. And I really like music, so this is my wall of instruments. Well, I play guitar and the ukulele. I've been trying to teach myself piano, but I haven't been very successful. So I always went to church, like grown up in the church. So like I just went there and I went to Sunday school and then I went home. Like it's really boring. Then when I was in grade 5, my brother's friends were like, oh, hey, like you should try out our church. Like it's so much fun. I was like, okay, like why not? That's when we like started going to the meeting house and we've been going there ever since. Between grades 6 and 8, when I would go to the retreats, it's like, you find Jesus. Like, it was like that every single time I went on a retreat, but then I like got home and then it was gone kind of thing. And so in grade 8, like I was like, yeah, I really like this whole God thing. So that's when I started like taking it a little bit more seriously, I think. And then I was baptized the summer between grade 9 and 10. It was really my time to like say like, yeah, like I really want to follow God. And then in grade 10, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna follow God. Oh, okay. It's going downhill that way. I was having issues with friends, and like, I was getting really frustrated because I was like, why can't my friends just like me? Like, kind of like, I was always the one that like was excluded from my friends or like talked about. So like, it was just getting really frustrating that like, they never wanted to hang out with me, and like, and then I'd get really mad and like talk about them to other people, which like, obviously is not a good choice.
I think like that's when I started like putting Bible verses on my mirror, because like for a while I was just like always grumpy, always upset. Like I would go home every day from school crying because I just like did not want to deal with anything. And like
some of those friend groups were at church, so I was like, church, the one place where you should feel comfortable. Why am I not comfortable here? I was always upset and like really like grumpy with my family, and like they noticed a change in me because like, I'm a generally happy person. My mom started taking me to the doctor, and I think it was really discouraging because they just passed it off as like, oh, you're just a teenager, like it's just stress, you'll be fine. I'm like, you guys all suck, you're supposed to help me. I just went like really downhill. And so I went to go talk to one of my teachers who I really trust. She stayed after school with me to talk about it, and then she brought me down to the guidance counselor. I finally felt like relieved too, like somebody was actually listening to me, because I felt like every time I talked to someone, they're like, oh, that's great, bye. My guidance counselor told my mom, was like, you need to take her to the hospital, like she's not okay.
and so like I went to the hospital, and like
They were like, okay, like this is a serious problem, like this is not normal, this is like not just her being a teenager, like there's something wrong here.
that like really frustrated me, because I was like, I've been having this for a while, and it's not fair that like I had to end up in the hospital for people to like pay attention to my problems. Things started getting better. I started seeing more doctors, and then they put me on medication. Like since then I've been like definitely like a lot more happy, and like I caught up in school, and like I've been feeling like less stressed out. And my mom's been really helpful, because like she's definitely my best friend. So I have like Bible verses like posted all over my room. I just like need some encouragement. So like on my mirrors I have like Bible verses about like self-image and like stuff like that. And because like as a woman, I feel like self-image is like something that's like a lot of girls struggle with. In high school it's like really hard, because like especially in this school, because everyone knows everybody, so like stuff travels really quickly, and like everyone gets talked about. And, like it's really hard like as a teenager to just like not talk about other people.
Why does it matter like what people think? Like people hated Jesus, but he loved everybody. So like I think like that's like a big thing for me, like loving like Jesus. It's been a struggle to just love everybody, because there's times where I'm like, I don't like you, and I want you to know that I don't like you, but like
I think it's like also really brought me closer to God, because I don't know, that's like what we're called to do, is like love people. So I've had like issues with some girls in the past, just like recently started like I'll send them like a Facebook message and be like, hey, like hope you're doing well, haven't seen you in a while. And like sometimes I get no reply, and I'm like, I tried. Like, there's nothing like else I can really do, because I've had it like many times where I just haven't felt like people want me around, or like just not like really like accepted in like the situations that I'm in. So like I wouldn't want anybody else to feel like that.
Janet, I want to say thank you for sharing your story. It is so important to talk to people when you experience a problem. And if you feel like you're not really being heard, find somebody else until they look you in the eye and really hear what you have to say.
I agree completely. Janet found the medical help she needed, but she also found the peace of God, something that helped her restore broken relationships with her friends.
That's amazing. She knew that Jesus loved everybody, even those who hated him. And she wanted to love everybody, even the people she didn't like so much.
Okay, let's break into small groups and see what that looks like in our own stories.
This week, our God story was all about Jacob and Esau. Last week, we learned that Jacob ran away from home because he stole the special blessing that was supposed to go to Esau. And he was afraid of what Esau might do to him if he came home. But he traveled for a while, and eventually he decided to go and stay with his uncle. While he was there, Jacob got married. He had 11 children. And while he was away, God told him that it was time to head back to his father's land. So he packed up his family and all of his belongings, and he started to head back home. While he was on his way home, he remembered what had happened between him and Esau, and he became very worried that Esau would be mad still and would try to hurt him and his family. So he decided to send a special messenger to Esau with gifts for him. This messenger went ahead of Jacob's family. Jacob was still worried and scared, but in this time of worry, he took time and he prayed and asked God what to do and to help him. When Esau found out that Jacob was on his way, he went out and met him with 400 of his men. Jacob didn't know what was going to happen, but it ended up that Esau came running to Jacob when he saw him, and the two brothers hugged and cried. Jacob was really nervous because typically if he saw Esau coming with 400 men, that was not actually going to be good news, but it turned out for good. God came through with Jacob in a time that he was ready for the worst to happen. But God was in the situation, and the things were okay between the two brothers, because God was in that situation. For us as Jesus followers, we are constantly reminded of the peace that Christ offers, and we can know that God's peace can heal relationships. The next time that you're struggling with a relationship, turn to God and he will help you find peace in the situation. We can always ask God to help us and to help us give us peace. Well, guys, it's time to head to our regular service. Thanks for joining me this week. I hope you all have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week back online for Kids Church.